Hello. We are live.
Hello. Welcome back, everybody. Been a long time no see. Haven't heard from everybody since last year. Well, we got our great news. Great news. We got our lovely Jordan on the mic today with us, and we got our new added addition, Miss Reese. She gonna be joining us from here on out, folks. Give her a round
Hello,
of
everybody.
applause. I don't have my buttons
Yay.
yet. I'm getting that going.
Yay.
And we have a lovely guest on the show today. Name is Zane. If I'm saying it right, I do apologize if I'm butchering it.
Zenashe.
Zen Zenashay. Ooh, that
Ooh,
sounds
like
very.
that.
I do. It sounds very French. Parlez-vous français? Let me stop. Let me stop. Um. So, with that being said, welcome the lovely ladies on the show, and myself, yours truly, Mike Bluebird. So with that being said, Jordan, what was our topic for today?
So, today we are going to be leaning in to the topic of navigating the new year, new me phenomenon. So, everybody talks about that as we roll into 2024 and every new year prior to this. New year, new me, and you'll see all the people with their posts and all the things happening. And we just want to dig a little deeper into that today. So, first and foremost, I do want to start off by just in general asking, how did you celebrate your new year? New year singular, not plural.
So I guess you're asking me.
Yeah, you can start.
I had a house full this December. Both my sons came back, so I actually had 7 people in my house. So my sons came back with their one with his girlfriend, one with his baby mama, and 3 kids. So I had them here, and the kids were outside popping firecrackers. And for the first time ever, I actually didn't do the countdown on the TV. Normally they have the countdown. I was looking at a bunch of different things and totally missed the countdown. I only knew it was midnight because all the fireworks outside went crazy, as you could hear, like all of this mass, just popping like crazy. So that's when I knew. I was like, oh, okay, it's midnight. So I was actually at home with a bunch of kids, super excited, trying to get them back in and calm down after popping firecrackers. So that's how I spent the new year.
Okay. What about you, Mike? How did you spend your new year?
My New Year's was very plain Jane, nothing too serious. I'm totally lying. We had a party, it was dancing, there was shots, and I forgot we're live. There was a lovely party. There was drinking and a couple of shots here and there, and some dancing. Yes, some dancing. Family came from out of town. Who I had my cousin Tilo came in from out of town. Haven't seen in like 15. Hasn't been back in Florida in like 15 years. So it was great to have him around. It's just pretty cool. Just chill, nothing too crazy.
Okay. What about you, Reese?
Mine was so quiet. It was so quiet. I
You
literally,
with me?
I think I fell asleep. I fell asleep at some point, and then they woke me up maybe like 5 minutes before the ball dropped, and I went woohoo, and we toasted sparkling grape juice, and I went right back to bed. It was over. I went and
Yeah.
snuggled in my bed, and I fell asleep on the couch and ended up snuggling in my bed. But we did the whole, fire, little popper things with the kids, and it was cool. But this was, I don't know, I think this was the year of chill New Year's. This was the year where I think most people had enough. So, yeah.
Yeah, we New Year is just like another day for us, so we didn't do anything big. My youngest tried to stay up for fireworks, but 9 o'clock he was out like a light, and once he's asleep, you can't
Oh,
wake him. And I was just like, well, so much for that. So I went to bed shortly before midnight. I think it was literally like 5 minutes before midnight. I fell asleep. Um, I do remember occasionally hearing fireworks going off, but nothing exciting for me. That's okay, Mike. You
yeah.
partied enough for all of
You
us.
partied for all of us, yeah.
Yeah.
I really did, and I had to go back to work the next morning.
Oh,
Oh
that's horrible.
Lord.
That was no, it was. That's what I get for thinking I was 21 again.
That's those are under 30 activities. Those are not over 30 activities. We do not party and still go to work
Oh
over
my
30.
god! Oh, Oh my God,
And
yeah.
for
It was,
those of you who are watching us, I see there are some people out there. Let us know in the comments how you celebrated the new year, or if you celebrate the new year. Let us know. Talk to us. Um, so, with that being said, our next question is the concept of a new you at the start of each year something that motivates you or overwhelms you?
Hmm. It's a very interesting concept or question. So I guess for me, I am, I guess, the queen of reinvention. So I
Ooh, I
reinvent
love that.
myself whenever I feel the need to reinvent myself. So I don't see the new year as it is a, for me, the new year is a time to take stock of what happened in the past year and then figure out where I want to kind of launch from there.
Right.
And so I don't ever feel overwhelmed. It's more of a recalibration of, okay, let me take stock of all the accomplishments last year, all of the goals that I set last year. I've been using a planner. I actually created my own planner because they didn't have enough in the planners that I saw, so I actually look back through my planner and really evaluate everything that happened the year before.
Yes.
So I think it's just a really, January, the word January comes from Janus, and he was like the Roman god. He had a face that looked forward and a face that looked back. So I think that that's kind of a great message to look back and look forward kind of at the same time in January. So I don't ever feel overwhelmed. I just think it's a great time to take stock and it launch yourself into the new year.
Right. So it's a time of
Yeah.
reflection and preparation for you. All right.
Well,
What
yeah.
else?
I'm totally digging all of that. The look forward, look backward. That's right. Okay, okay. I'm digging that. I'm
Yeah.
digging that. Snatching it.
Yeah. I don't get overwhelmed in the new year because I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I try not to get wrapped up in that stuff. I think it's the quickest way to set yourself up for failure. It's like one of those things where it's like another excuse, like I'll start that diet on Monday, or I'll do this thing on the first of the month. Like it's just an excuse to procrastinate for me. Um so I just try to stay away from New Year's resolutions. So I don't get overwhelmed. I'm probably more in line with her when she says it's a time of reflection. And I'm very reminiscent. I'm one of those people. Very nostalgic. So I'll look back on what the year held, what my successes and failures were, and try to just take a moment to absorb all of that and be cognizant and more intentional moving forward.
Right. I completely understand that. What about you,
I
Jay?
like the well placed verbiage on that. That was just very very professional of you. I love the resume. I love the resume dialogue on it. It's interesting. Jordan, your turn.
For me, like I said, the new year is just another calendar day for me. So there is no motivation or overwhelm. It's just like, okay, this thing just happened. I do appreciate how all the apps like send you like this is your year in review and you get to look at all the cool things you did over the year. I do appreciate that aspect of it in terms of like what Zen said, about it a time of reflection. Like, yeah, definitely. But yeah, other than that, the whole concept of a new you at the start of each year is just, I agree with Reese. I feel like it, why can't you do a new you at the start of each day or at the start of each month or at the start of each whatever? Like, why wait until January 1st to be a better version of yourself? I don't know.
Or why a new you? When I tell you that irks my life,
Uh, because it's
I hate that.
I hit them all up for you real quick. The why the New Year's thing is goes back to what we said in the previous, this following the social norms and expectations, right?
Right.
You get
Yeah.
a clean slate. I'm pretty sure it's something else more into that. And the new me, new you. I guess that came out from a Fashion Nova magazine or something like that, and it just
Marketing thing.
yeah, because it's like everybody's wanting to be the new you, new year, new me, new you, whatever tic tac toe dance they got going on. But it's yeah, just what you said, marketing. You beat me to it. It's just straight up marketing.
Yeah, marketing.
No one really cares. I mean, people do care. I mean, but it was like you would say, okay, like Jordan said, we have to wait to every year to start this new thing where we're gonna learn to unlearn and undo everything in the past that we did, and to
Yeah.
basically be better for the new future. that was the positive outcome of it, and everybody just basically said, "Okay, I screwed up this month. I'll wait. I screwed up this month. I'll wait. You know, I'll just save it for next year. We're just gonna start over next year. Let January start out. Hey, the first week of January it tells you everything. And it's just all right. You know what? This ain't the year for me right now. We're just gonna come back. We'll come back. We'll just wait. So from here on out, everything is it's next year's problem. We'll address that next year. As of right now, let's just keep our head above float.
Right.
And that perfectly brings me to the next question. Like, what has been your experience with setting New Year resolutions?
Um, well, I'm in line with what Reese said that I do not really set New Year's resolutions. I do set goals, but I'm constantly setting goals. And I was actually kind of laughing in my mind because National Quitters Day was actually last Friday. There's actually that's the national day where they say most people only make it the first 10 days sticking to their
Mm-hmm.
resolution,
Mm-hmm.
and by the 10th day, or whatever Friday was, it might have been the 12th or whatever, but anyway,
Yes.
like 12 days in, they have already given up on their resolutions. And you hear people joke about if you go to the gym the first few weeks of the new year and it's packed, oh, just wait.
Yes.
They'll fall off by week 3. So there's
Right.
kind of a joke about it. But I do find it I'm getting ready to present at a vision board workshop soon.
Oh, I love that.
And so I've never done a vision. Well, I have a vision board behind me, but it's not a typical vision board like what people have with like cutouts of pictures. It basically just has words on it and has words in different categories. So it has like this whole wheel of life kind of thing. So that's been on my wall for like 3 years now. Well, since COVID, since quarantine,
Wow.
because that's when I actually did it. Quarantine gave me a chance to kind of focus on a lot of things that I bought that kit and never used it till we were stuck in our house. So basically for me, New Year's resolutions are just a reminder to take stock of the goals that I have and to really, in a sense, emphasize that this is a new year and it's new opportunities, it's new challenges. So I think that whole idea of it being a new year is important, but the resolutions part is not so much important to me as it is to some other people. Because I think like everybody's been saying, if you just base it on it's the new year, that newness is going to wear off. It's got
Yeah.
to be something that comes from inside of you. That
Mm-hmm.
motivation has to be renewed even when it's the February month or the March month or the April month. It can't just be, oh, it's January, so I'm all excited. That's going to wear off.
That is completely true. Did anybody else have anything to add to that?
No, but your face was just funny though. She was just like, wait, nothing's going on here. No, I don't got anything as far as that. You guys kind of nailed it, hit it on the head for me.
Okay. I haven't set New Year's resolutions in years. Like I can't even remember the last time I actually sat down and tried to write out a New Year resolution. And I think the same thing, like when I think about all the people around me and how they tell me, oh, this year, this is what I'm doing, and these are all the things I have going on. And like you said, it literally lasted maybe 2 weeks. And then after that, it's like, oh, what happened? Oh, well, I had work and this and that. And there's
Mm-hmm.
such this heavy load of disappointment that comes with it. And it's like everything is completely derailed. But it's like for me, when it comes to New Year and everybody being in the gym, January is like the worst time of year to want to go outside of your house and let alone start exercising. Like it's cold, it's snowing, it's wet. Like who's like, man, this is great weather to go outside and exercise. No, like nobody. I don't understand. I don't understand it. January it's hard enough for me to just get out of my house, let alone have the motivation to leave my house, go to the gym, work out. amongst the masses of other people in the gym working out the first whatever 2 weeks of January, and then want to come home and be a productive member of society. Like, no, that just
No.
is not realistic in my world. But
What's even funnier is like, people say, well, it's the spirituality of it, or it's the the thought behind it, dealing with, your own personal energy or whatever. But historically, and in that same realm, I'm losing my words, I'm sorry. The new year actually is not until March. We are dead in the middle of the winter solstice, which is the ending of all things,
Yes.
and the worst time to start something new. So I find that funny. Spring is when you're supposed to, if you're looking at it from a spiritual or historical context, is when you're supposed to refresh and renew and do all those things. But it's hilarious to me to watch people set, like, that's the other thing. I think people set themselves up for failure, right? They go into it with these unrealistic goals, right? You ain't worked out in 5 years, but you're gonna go 5 days a week every for months. Like, you naturally set yourself up for failure. You didn't even make it realistic, yeah, and it just sucks. And then it's discouraging. It makes it even harder, I think, to start anything, because you've already started yourself off with failure and disappointing yourself, and so now to restart is even harder.
I completely agree with that from the energetic standpoint. Like, and that's part of the reason why I don't celebrate the new year, because I celebrate it in spring with the spring equinox.
Yeah.
One, because in the spring everything is blooming and the weather is nice and I want to go outside and do things, versus I cannot speak for anybody else, but in the wintertime I literally just want to snuggle up in a blanket in my bed and just be. I don't care about healthy eating. I don't care about exercising. I just want to be comfortable and warm. Like that is it across the board.
Exactly.
So it's like comfortable and warm, eating healthy, working out, doing no.
No, not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Not invested in it. But yeah, I completely agree with that. From an energetic, spiritual perspective, spring is the fantastic time to start anew. But also something that you mentioned about expectations.
Yeah.
And Mike mentioned earlier about it being a social expectations or whatever, social pressure to do the new year and all the things. Because even I remember when I was working in a traditional setting, people would ask you, first thing you come back to work, what are your New Year's goals? And there was just like this pressure, like, oh, I have to create these things in order to fit in with all the other people and their 5,000 goals. And they have to be something big and epic to be comparable. And like you said, Reese, I think a lot of it is setting ourselves up for failure, because we're not sitting and thinking about what is it that I need in order to grow in this new year, but how do I compare myself to the social media market, whether that's Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever social media thing is happening right now.
Right.
There's probably some new year, new me thing trending right now. I haven't even looked.
Always. Yes, at the beginning of the year, always. It's all over TikTok. It's all over Facebook. It's all over Instagram.
Yeah. It's just, how do you navigate that? Like, it's everywhere you go, there are signs telling you this is what you should be doing to this magnitude. Like, in order to be an individual, it's like you have to fight very much against the grain.
Yeah, that's why you turn to drinking, bottle of wine, shots, tequila. Yeah. You know what? I salute you. Get the guy.
I think that brings up a good conversation of, like, how do you effectively and successfully implement change in your life when you really want a change, right? I think this goes back to a conversation we had in the last show about having conversations with yourself and being realistic with yourself. I know for me, when I stopped making resolutions and when I started seeing huge changes within myself, whether it was losing weight, whether it was changing relationships or dynamics of relationships or patterns in relationships, it comes at a time where you either hit face first into a hard situation or hit rock bottom, or sit and have a moment to sit with yourself and address a specific topic, a specific incident, whatever that is, but really sit with yourself and work through it. Because until you hit that point with yourself, not somebody's opinion, not somebody else's want or need for you, not what somebody else thinks you should do, not you wanting to do it for someone else because you want to be prettier to them or they like you better. None of that matters. None of that change becomes permanent until you really face forward with yourself and have to sit with yourself and have that kind of a moment. I see people all the time like, oh, but so and so thinks, or my significant other likes, or I'm going to change because I want this person. None of that is ever permanent. So I believe people can change. I hate when people say you can't change. That's not true. People do and will change, but it's a life choice and an internal choice, not an external factor choice.
Right. And that brings me really to the next question, like, how can we ensure that the pursuit of growth, not necessarily change, but growth, is healthy and sustainable rather than driven by that social pressure? Like, what are some things that we can do to ensure that we are doing the work of looking inward and looking for internal growth, but also having self compassion in the process?
I think it has to do with balance. I have a podcast of my own called Energy, and it's the whole idea that everybody has the urge for peace and fulfillment in life, but how do we get that urge met, and how do we keep our peace and sanity while we're trying to get that urge for fulfillment? Because sometimes in the process of becoming fulfilled, people lose themselves,
Yeah.
people strain themselves, people burn the candle at two ends, burn themselves out. So I think that balance is important. And I always say, look at nature. Nature has seasons, like we were just talking about it being the winter solstice versus the spring equinox. There are times when nature rests. There are times when nature is very active. There are times when nature is turbulent and stormy. Nature is not sunny every day. So you shouldn't expect to be in the best mood of your life every day. There are times when nature seems to be sad and it's raining, or angry and it's storming, or quiet and peaceful and there's just a nice breeze outside, or very happy and the sun is shining. So I think if we go back to more indigenous roots where people were trying to be more in line with nature, understanding that we are natural creatures, then we stop trying to treat ourselves like machines.
Yes.
Machines, you can plug in a command, and if that command is properly formatted, it will execute every time. We are not machines. We don't work that way. There are times when we work at 100%, and there are times when we're doing our best and we just can get 25% done, because we are human beings. And one of the greatest things that a therapist ever told me when I was pursuing all these goals and I was burning myself out and I was stressing myself out and I should have done this by this age and this by that age, she said, "You are a human being, not a human doing."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of changed my perspective, because I realized that I was actually put here. If we look at everything in nature, everything was put here to be. And in being, it creates its purpose. A tree in being will create fruit.
Mm-hmm.
That fruit, some trees produce fruit every year, some trees produce fruit every 5 years. They're still being what they're supposed to be and producing what they're supposed to produce in their time. So when I started focusing on being a being who was going to produce in her own time, which not might not be somebody else's time, I stopped worrying
Right.
much about the doing, and I started letting things kind of more happen more naturally. And so that kind of helped me. And I still go back to that, because we are in a very, America is a very rat race, dog eat dog. We don't take vacations. We don't take siestas like they do in some other countries. We don't have maternity leave like they do in other countries. We are focused on the Puritan work ethic, which is basically work 50 years so you're almost about to die, and then you retire and rock in a rocking chair, But until you
Samuel L. Jackson's character, LaQuint Dickey.
yeah,
When you
Yep.
work from
until
sun
you
up
get
to
to
sundown.
retirement, you're supposed to be working like there's, people will even say things like, "I'll sleep when I die." And
Yes.
you hear those kind of things. That's not healthy. And there's some people that'll come out and say, "Why are we working so much that we are losing our health, our sanity, our families, the very things that we should be enjoying?"
Right.
So I just try to, on my podcast and just in life, I try to always focus on balance, looking at nature and realizing that I am a human being first.
Yeah. I love that.
And
Coffee shop
that's
snap fingers.
yeah,
That's what that
it
is.
really is.
That's what that is. All for it. All for it.
It's such a depiction of how imbalanced we are in our society here, because when, like, you talk about looking at nature, when you look at nature, there's a balance between feminine and masculine energy. And the problem that we have in our society, all the qualities that you were naming about that going, and doing, and being versus doing is the difference between being, which is feminine energy, and doing, which is masculine energy. Our society is so fixated on the masculine. We're always doing. Everything is about doing. I've had so many people tell me if I'm not doing something, I feel like I'm lazy, like my existence doesn't matter. And it's just like, what do you mean? Like you don't rest? Like there's no, that is that social pressure that you have to be doing something or else you're not amounting to anything. And it's like, no, that including with the new year, there is a sense of balance, right? You need to be open and receptive. There needs to be a time of rest and reflection. That's that feminine energy. And then once you do all that, then you can do the doing. But there's a cycle that comes with it, just like you said with the seasons. But we don't honor that at all. We just honor go pedal to the metal. That's how we are taught to exist in this world. And that same thing is enforced or encouraged with New Year's resolutions. You're supposed to be going, doing. But how many people say before the new year comes in this period, like reflecting on the past year and all the things that you've accomplished and didn't accomplish, and what growth do you want to have in the new? Like nobody really focuses on the preparation beforehand. It's just like, okay, the new year's here. Go. What are you doing? No, that's how that thing works, unfortunately. But
it's funny how that frame of mind is more prevalent in our society, in American society, right? Because if you look at other countries and how they prioritize quality of life, some countries have your PTO is a must. It's not optional, right? First of all, they give you way more. They start with a month on top of paid holidays, but they force you to take it. Or like Zen said, they give you a real maternity leave. Most of them is like 6 months to 2 years. They prioritize that quality of life and you having your family, and it's crazy. Some of them even only have a 4-day work week and their days are shorter. And that's still considered full time to them. Healthcare, they prioritize everybody having healthcare and making sure that you're healthy. So it's, a lot of that is societal norms here in America, which it kills me. We're supposed to be this advanced society, but we deprioritize the most important commodity, which is us.
Now we're afraid. Our biggest commodity is selling fear. Every day we gotta make sure we got troops every single place. We gotta make sure they're breaking down the borders. They're attacking our people who's selling drugs. But big pharma's making big money off of selling drugs anyway. As long as you do it under their umbrella, it's okay. So we're just pretty much like you said, like everybody here said, we're in the whole going phase. That's what they want us to do. Work until you die. I'm building a nation of workers, not thinkers. It was one of the last presidents said that, and it was just like, and it's become that to the core of it, of this whole nation right about now. And it's just like, and you look at it, I hear coworkers say, "Oh, I don't know what's going on with this generation where you guys just don't want to work." No, we want to work. We just not trying to. We're not trying to give our lives to a job.
We want to live too.
Yeah, they want you to work, and then they want you to basically have blind loyalty until they say they got to give you 2 weeks notice. They're not going to give you 2 weeks notice when they fire you. They're going to fire you on the spot. But then when you give them a 2 weeks notice effective immediately, it's like, oh, I'm going to need 2 weeks. Why? Yeah. It's just it's the craziest thing, and it's like, and they're selling it. And they're doing such a great job of selling it to the point where people, it's crazy how you look at people and you see them at a place for 50 years and they're just waiting. And I'm like, what are you waiting for? When are you going on vacation?
I don't think that's the norm anymore. It used to be. I think starting with our generation, we cut that out. Now we're out every 2 to 3 years, because if you're not going to pay me what you're paying the new hire, I'm going to go somewhere else who is going to pay me what you're paying the new hire.
Yeah, no, we're I feel like it's a lot better now. I'm not saying like everything fully, but it's like being more self-aware and challenging the status quo of the company and the governmental system in itself to understand that we are not a number. We are
Yeah.
reading.
I think that's the
human beings.
shift, the societal shift we're in now, though, is prioritizing ourselves and prioritizing our mental health. That was that whole big shift that happened during COVID, where people were like, no, I'm not going to work for less. I'm not going to work harder. And I don't want to come back to the office because for what? Right. Right.
Yeah, but then speaking about the COVID was the number one thing. Like you sat back and you watched the companies that was like, oh, the corporate CEOs like we make this country run. COVID happened. Who's running it, sir?
Right.
What are you
Right.
doing? What are you doing? Like, okay. And at
Yeah.
this time, if you was a lifer employee, and they were had to be like, hey, listen, even though we're back in action, we're gonna have to let you go. We're not meeting the numbers. At that point in time, everybody across the board knew that, oh my God, I'm just a number. Oh my God, everything doesn't really matter. It's all the crap. The whole work till you die, get married, have kids, do these all steps was just like, it's all for nothing.
Two things happened during that time. One is exactly what you just said. And the other one was that people realized that they could be just as productive, if not more productive, when they were happy, healthy, and comfortable, which is why they're refusing to go back to the office. Because if from my PJs, I don't have the stress of the rush hour commute or juggling my kids or scrambling and getting up extra early, if I don't have to worry about dealing with Miss Caddy Joe in the office who wants to gossip about everybody, and I can be at home and focus, right? And I can pet my cat or my dog, or I can have the lunch I have at home, and I can save money, and my brain is quieter and I am quieter. I'm more focused and I'm more productive and I'm happy and healthy. And I think that set a whole new tone as well, right? Because then when the command came of come back to the office, people like me were like, are my numbers suffering? And is my situation different? Like, why? If I'm just as productive, if not more, here, and I'm happier and healthier here, tell me your reasoning, your corporate logical reasoning for me to come back. And people started standing their ground.
No, but think about it. Think about it outside of it just a little bit. That is another freedom of institution that they make us fall into, where you got to come in. The only difference is you're not there for 4 or 5 years. You're only there for 8 hours, and then you go back, and then you got to come right back again. And they got us programmed. So when that COVID thing happened, everybody's like, "Wait, I can do this from home, and you still making money. Why do I need to be in? Why do I need to be in a cubicle? Because
it's not even do it from
they
home.
Put you in an office. They put you in a little cubby, and it's just like, yeah, get back to yourself. We want you back to yourself.
Like that comes back to the control thing, because and reeling it back around to the new year, new you mindset. Because as long as we keep people in these failing situations, because that's really what that is, going to the office is a failing situation that benefits them more than it benefits me, then they're winning. Because they have that control. Go ahead.
I wanted to bring up something that nobody's mentioned so far about quarantine. Quarantine actually caused a shift in marriages and live-in partnerships as well. The divorce rate skyrocketed because what happened was that many wives and girlfriends were under this impression of, oh, he would be more helpful if he were at home more. But what happened was he came home, he shut the door to his man cave, went in there and worked for 8 hours a day, and then would come out and get dinner when she made it, and would go back into his man cave and not want to integrate with the family, and felt like, he needed his space and all this stuff. And she's like, wait a minute, you're here and you're not helping at all any more than you were when you were gone? What do I need you for? You're making more work for me. I'm cooking for you. I'm cooking stuff after you, and you want to go in your man cave and shut all of us out. And there were many women who said, oh my gosh, I'm doing 50% of the bills and 100% of the childcare and housework, and he's getting 150% and I'm getting 50%. I'm out. I'm out.
Yep.
And they had never seen it so clearly because they were always thinking if he were home, it would be different. And now he's home and it's worse. It's
a lot
worse.
of babies came out of the whole quarantine thing too. A lot of people.
That was in the beginning. That's because people were bored.
A lot of babies came out of it. I was like, God, for a planet that's about to die through some type of virus, y'all producing a lot of babies right now. Where's everybody? What's going on? I'm like, okay, well, this is where it's at. And then, like you guys said, that whole, what I found funny though about the whole people that were married, it was like, now it's like you really get to see them. It's like you hear them say, I didn't know they smelled like that all the time. Oh, and not even the married ones. It was the ones that were like in relationships.
Okay, Mike.
What I'm just saying. The ones that were like in
That was a little awkward.
relationships. The ones that were like in relationships, and then they was like, let's just live together. And then they finally like, you can't go to your own place anymore and just be yourself. Now
It
you're
magnified all the things.
yeah, and it was just
All
like,
the
oh no,
things.
this ain't
Yeah.
working. This ain't working. No, this ain't working. I
But
don't
that
like
was
you
the
that
beauty
much.
of COVID for me. Like, it gave people an opportunity to slow down and see themselves, but also see the people around them. And if we could just take that COVID perspective and apply it to the new year, new you mindset, that would be fantastic. Not just jumping into the social pressure or social expectations, but actually slowing down and seeing yourself, seeing your situation, seeing your environment and your support groups and all of those things, because that's the part that we're missing in all of this like new you mindset is the introspection, but also the self-compassion, right? Being able to say, yes, I'm making these changes, I'm doing these things, but then when we have that 10-day fail, being able to be like, okay, I didn't meet my goal, but I'm gonna get back on the horse and do whatever. Versus, oh, I didn't meet my
Right.
goal. Better luck next year. So, and
Yeah.
like Dina said, why not start today? New year has been established means nothing. Many speakers will say, if you have a vision, don't wait and start now. That's kind of like what Reese said. Not looking at the ladder, but the first step. No holiday, no numbered year, no births, no birthday has to happen in order to start. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally dig it. I dig it.
No time like the present.
I agree.
And oh, sorry, we got more. I missed all of these. Not resolution, more like revolution with evolution. Ooh, I like that.
Oh, I like that.
Finger snap.
We got one more. That's why we now have no doctors and nurses wanting to work. They can't stay home to do that job. That goes back to our COVID conversation.
Yeah. I mean, not every job is conducive to that, right? But those doctors also work 3 and 4 day shifts. You know, granted, they're longer days, but they have more flexibility in their schedules to do more. And they also financially have more freedom to go to places and do things. So, but all things in balance, right? All things in balance. No matter what your job is, no matter what field you're in or what you do, all things should be in balance because at the end of the day, we're all still humans. Some jobs are more high pressure, strenuous, some aren't. You know, it's a spectrum of things, but at the end of the day, you're still a human who needs to practice self-care.
Right. That self-care word is a big one. I know a lot of times I'll ask people like, "What are you doing for self-care?" And they just look at me like, "What is that?" Like,
You see this right here? Self-care, baby. All that. All that.
Wait,
People
are
think
we?
self-care is bubble baths and face masks, and it's not. That's not what
No, no, that's
That
a
is an
part of it
aspect
though.
of it, yeah.
That's
It's
a
an
part of it
aspect,
though.
but that's not
Let's
all
get
of
it
it.
right. The
Yeah.
facials, you know what I mean? The pedicures, you know, the bubble baths, little soap bombs and all them jazzes. Yeah, all that. It's a part of it. It's a part
It's a
of it.
part of it, but it's not.
Yeah.
That's not going to be your end all beat all. That's not your. Oh,
No,
I
that's
did
at
my
the end.
self-care this week.
No, that's
No,
at the end. That's at the end. Yeah. At every
Yeah.
trial and tribulations, that's at the end.
So,
I wanted to bring up something. I've been in education for a long time, and we used to have the kids do goal setting at the beginning of the year in August, beginning of school year, and then also at the half point because you would be entering a new semester in January. And the longer I taught, the harder it was to get kids to do that. It's like they had no, I mean, you would think that here you are, I taught high school, so they should be thinking about college, the military, jobs they want to do. It was like they didn't have any goals. it was like trying to, and even we would do like units on like going to college or what are you going to do after high school. It was very difficult for them to see, and part of it's brain chemistry because they're so in the now moment and everything is like, they don't like me first period, my life is over, I mean, so it's like thinking that okay, by the end of the day you guys might have made up, it kind of, they don't see those kind of things. But I think that there has been some changes in the way kids are being parented and the things that they're being
Mm.
exposed to where their ability to goal set is becoming more and more limited. And I'm not sure exactly what's happening, even though I'm in the middle of it, because it's kind of disturbing to watch. It's like we're losing the imagination and creativity that I used to see in kids. It's like that's whittling down, down, down. And I'm not sure if because they sit in front of devices all the time and we had to use our brains. Like when I was a kid, I don't know if you guys remember the cartoon The Rugrats, but that's, childhood when they get the package and they turn the box into a spaceship. I don't think there are very many kids doing that now because they have all these tablets and devices that they don't have to use their imagination for. You know what I'm saying? They don't turn the box of the package into a spaceship or a rocket or a car, or whatever. So I think that might be part of it. Not sure, but I do think that there is a value in being able to imagine your future, envision who you want to be and goal set for that. And I am concerned that I think some of our kids don't have that. And they just don't seem to have any imagination at all.
Yeah.
I was, as you're talking, it just hit me that I intentionally take electronics away from my kids and I make them go play, go draw, go do something else for a little while, go outside. My son's really into art, but he won't do it unless I take it away, the iPad, all of it, right? And this also goes along with something we talked about in another show of that's the beginning of learning to sit with yourself, right? You don't have a distraction in your hand. You don't have something taking you away. By using your imagination, that's a form of sitting with yourself. That's you playing in your own brain and being able to sit with your own thoughts or express yourself on paper, whether that's drawing or pulling out that box and making it a spaceship. Those are all things that a lot of us did as kids that developed us to be
Well,
adults.
that's more so timeout. That's what that was.
Now it's timeout. It's
No,
not
Okay.
timeout. It wasn't
us
timeout
growing
back
up, I'm
then.
just saying, though, like, go to
Right.
your room. There's no TVs, no toy there. You're sitting by yourself. Or go in the corner. You're by yourself. Look head down or looking up. You can't turn around. That was the
Mikey, I think
timeout
some of your
phase.
trauma is showing. Is that the only time you were by
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, unless they woke up and they told me to like a Home Alone moment where everybody woke up and got ready and I didn't. I was still in bed and then why weren't you at church with us? How was I supposed to get there? I fell
Mm.
Yeah.
asleep, didn't get ready.
Yeah, Mikey, I think some of your trauma showing because
it's
that's not.
definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely showing a
I
little
think most
bit.
kids, at least maybe not the kids of now, but like millennials, Gen X's, we sat by ourselves. We played, we drew, we colored in coloring books, we
Played
rode
outside.
bikes.
Yeah.
We did those things on
That's
purpose.
different.
On purpose,
That's
not because we were
different.
in
Those things
trouble.
were fun. Those things were fun. The drawings and and the riding the bikes, those things were fun. I have so many bruises and things I shouldn't be doing. But anyways, so many fun things.
I
That's
think
how you got
part
hurt the
of
most.
I think part of the reason why there's such a difficulty to do those things is because now with electronics, there's like instant gratification. I don't have to wait until I'm done creating this thing. I don't have to wait until I take the box to make it how I want it. I have instant gratification with these electronics. And I think that's part of the reason why there is such a difficulty in doing those things. And hold on, we've got another comment. The options for their future is so vast that they can't really conceive of what their future could be, except maybe a content creator. That is also
That's
true
true.
too. Yeah.
That's
Content
true.
creation right about now is beating everything out the way. You're basically being famous for being yourself, whether it's very super influential or just basically being a nut.
Or
It
not
doesn't
being
really matter.
yourself
People
in
are just
some people's
clicking it in.
cases.
Yeah, you're just clicking to watch somebody, and it's just like some of it. It's a lot. Not gonna lie, I'm guilty of it. Some of it's like a bad car crash. You can't turn away, and I'm just like, why? Like, but why?
I
Like,
feel like I feel like that's the nature versus nurture thing Like they want to be content creators because it's what is being shoved in their face because they have a tablet and a phone in their hand all the time, right?
Mhm.
Versus them wanting to be a doctor, a lawyer, or anything else. For example, my son's generation and younger, the phenomenon of I will watch a YouTuber play a video game, but I won't play the video
I
game.
don't get it.
My brain is like, I'm
Okay,
like, you
first of
have that
all,
game. I bought you that
wait,
game.
wait, wait, wait. Listen. These are advanced people playing the game, so you're basically getting the tricks and trades of watching them play it
No,
before you
Mikey.
can go back.
This
Before
is
you can
this is
go back
not
and
like when
play
we were
it.
kids. When we were kids, we bought the magazine, right, to learn where all the cheat codes were. But then we went in there and we did it.
That
These
part was
kids
so
don't want to
true.
ever do it. They just want to watch somebody else do it. He
And then
has the
folks,
game. They have the game. But why when I can just sit here and watch somebody else play it?
and
That's
they're
to me, that's that same, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. That's that same concept of like, I want to be every kid I know wants to be a content creator. Everybody in my daughter's first aid class, you ask them, they want to be content creators. Why? Because they have tablets and phones in their hands.
I think the whole thing came from a bad like adult choice decision. Somebody said it at a party where it's like sometimes when my kids get on my nerves, I don't know what to do. This is what I do. I just give them my tablet, and then it just kind of circulated to then it was like give them their own personal device, so
Because
you don't
it's
hear
easy.
mom, nobody gets to talk to you, and then all of a sudden you're like they're not talking anymore. It's peace. Then it turns into a generation of us just say, here, go play with this. Get out of my face. Or
Yeah,
we're
but that's
babysitting.
how it
It's like,
started.
yeah,
The
seriously. Now it's
TV
like
was the babysitter, and then we
the
got tablets and
TV
cell
was the
phones, and
babysitter.
Exactly.
It kept you out of trouble. You wasn't in the streets if you had a TV, or then you could go outside and play. But at the end of the day, when he was like, you're smaller, throw them in front of the TV. They're not gonna go anywhere. And they
Yep.
just did that. And now it's like, give them a tablet, give them a little small
mm-hmm.
cell phone device or old phone, and just let them play with that until they're done. Now it's just like nobody's talking anymore.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's all bad, right? There's a time and a place for everything. Tablets can be very useful. Kids can't sit,
Balance.
and it's not fair to expect a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old to sit for hours on end unentertained in an adult situation. I feel like there's a time and a place, right? My son was autistic. He is autistic. But when he was smaller, he was nonverbal. We used the tablet in order to get him to speak. And he speaks. It was a part of his therapy. So there are times and places where it
Right.
makes sense. But I think the overkill has taken away a lot of their ambition. You were talking about how Zen, you were talking about getting your kids to set goals. My son is now 15, and when I ask him about goals, he's like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
not motivated because again, to them, they can be content creators. They can stay at home and play video games online all day, and that's their thought process because of the way they've relied on their electronics, and that's what they've been fed.
Well, there's something I want to mention that has been coming out since we came back from quarantine a lot. It's the word grit,
Mm-hmm.
which we call resilience or persistence or tenacity. And the difficulty with education now, especially coming back from quarantine, is that a lot of these kids have no grit. They have no tenacity. They have no persistence. And a lot of adults don't have it either. So that we're talking about the new year, new me. When you create a goal, a New Year's resolution, you have to change. And change requires effort. And
Mm-hmm.
change also requires persistent, consistent effort because we don't change through doing it one time. You might have to do it 100 times
Right.
before it becomes a habit. And most people have difficulty with that. But as adults, a lot of us learn that things were going to be difficult
Yeah.
and we incorporated that into our mindset. So we already knew starting out, there's going to be days I don't feel like doing this. There's going to be days
Mm-hmm.
um, that I have to push myself through this. But a lot of kids now, they really believe that everything is supposed to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, and you'll see them say, well, if it's not easy, I just must not be able to do it. It's not for me.
Right.
So I'm going to quit. And so I think we've raised, and if you look at, there was an article that it was on NPR as well, where they did this study, and this was way back in like the 90s, I believe. They gave third graders, third graders a like eighth grade math problem.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave the American students and these Asian students from China, right? This eighth grade math problem, right? Now, the Chinese kids had grown up in a culture that said, keep trying, work hard. We're going to praise you for your effort. American kids have mostly grown up in a culture that says, oh, you're so smart. So the Asian kids, they're both sitting in the same room with same math problem. The Asian kids worked on the math problem until they had to be stopped. They literally had to be stopped. They were working on it for hours. The American kids looked at it, wrote a few things down, on average took 30 seconds to a minute, and then put their head down and said, I don't know how to do this. We didn't learn this.
Yep.
I'm quitting.
Yep.
They didn't ask for help. They didn't say, I have a question. They just said, I don't know how to do this. And they put their head down. Within 1 minute. On average, the Asian kids took 2 to 4 hours of trying.
I believe that.
My son says that's the reason he doesn't play the games and watches somebody else do it, because he doesn't want to have to figure out how to do it.
Well, and I think part of that is a fear of failure, because I know I see that in my son. Like, if I just don't try, I'm not going to fail. I'm just going to tell you from the beginning, this is not for me, and I didn't fail because I gave up before that. Problem solved, right?
No, you know what I hate though? I hate is like now these like for someone within our age, we're like, we get the concept, we put forth an effort towards something. If it was meant to be, it'll be for us. They kind of took that. It was like, oh, the universe said it's not meant for me, so I'm not gonna try. No, it's not how it works.
It's not how that works.
No.
Don't you dare do that.
But I think the other part of that is also because we've gotten into this place where we, like, in the Asian culture, you are rewarded for your effort, but we have taken that, we've kind of mutated it into like these participation awards. So like, yay, you showed up, good job, but you didn't do anything. You just showed up. So that was it. And so now the kids are like, yay, I showed up. Okay, but you still didn't do anything. Like, there's that part right there.
It would
Right.
No, but it's that over sense of entitlement of your kid is not the best, so let's include him in their winnings, even though he's not the best. I don't understand. Like, no, and that was the awful generation of us, of somebody feeling super left out because their kid wasn't getting awards for being on the soccer team or something like that. So now everybody gets one. Even though you didn't win. That was the awful generation.
Yeah, and that's really where we are now. And so, and like Zen has said, so we've created this society, this culture, this generation that is incapable of setting goals. One, because they don't want to fail, because they don't want to try, because they don't know how to, they don't have the tools. There's so many options out. There's so many reasons how we got here. But it's like, okay, so now what do we do now that we're here? Like,
so I don't know if you can see the comment on Facebook Live, but Allison said, it's just crazy that us who went out and did everything with no electronics are giving in and giving our kids electronics, and our kids don't know what we did. Basically, like, we're giving them everything, right? Because we want them to have the things that we didn't have, but we've given them so much that they now have no appreciation.
No appreciation,
they don't understand the concept, right? They don't have the grit of what it took for us to be able to provide those things to them.
It's like, and that is what, now you bring it up, that is true. We are guilty of doing that because not having it made us wanted to work hard to get it. And just, so now it's like
we've given them everything.
Yeah, it's like somebody had posted something on Instagram or Facebook where he was like, my father's time created hard times, but then my son's time is going to be great. Like,
I've heard that. Yes, I like that one. Say it all, Mikey. Because say it all, because not everybody's heard that.
I can't remember it all.
Oh, I'm going to find it and post it now.
I've seen that too. It's really great.
I think
it's basically about how the grandparents had hard times, and then the parents had easier times, and they made things so easy for the grandkids that the easiness is making their lives hard.
Because they don't know how to fight through anything.
They literally can't think. They can't make decisions. They don't have the mindset. Somebody put in the chat, growth versus fixed mindset. And so because, and I talked to my sons are 28, and I'm still talking to them about some of the choices that they make. But I remember the first time that they left home and they hit a wall of disappointment and, discouragement. And they basically came back, and I could see kind of this like tucking their tail between their legs kind of thing. And I was like, baby, this is what being an adult is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if somebody
Mm-hmm.
misled you. An adult doesn't mean that you just get to make every decision for yourself. It
Yes.
means that you have consequences, and there are things that don't work out and you have to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
You actually have to bounce back.
Can't ask no.
And I think that that's another thing that we haven't shown our kids, and sometimes when they have that first setback, or they get fired from a job and they're like, or they have somebody takes advantage of them and they lose money. These things happen. This is part of life. Life is not like
Yeah.
one of my favorite movie speeches is the Rocky speech with his son. And I'm going to try to quote it, but his son comes back and he's like, I worked so hard to get respect in this new company, and now you're a 50-year-old man and you're trying to go back into the boxing ring and you're going to embarrass me.
Mm.
And his dad said, I used to hold you in the palm of my hand. That's how small you were. And he said, I said to the world, this kid is going to be the best thing ever. And you did. You went out, you conquered the world. And now you're coming to me worried about what I'm doing and how it's going to make you look. He says, son, life is not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
Yes.
Life will knock you down and keep you there if you let it. He said, it's not about how hard you get hit. It's
Mm-hmm.
about how much you can get
Get back.
hit and keep moving
Yes.
forward.
Yeah.
And that was such a powerful, because everybody's going to get hit, but somehow some of these kids and some young adults have got in their mind that they're never supposed to get hit.
Yes.
Or if they get hit, somebody's going to rush in and save them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Mel Robbins that said, nobody's coming to save you.
Right.
You're going
Yeah.
to have to save yourself. So, and we do have community, and we do have friends, and we do have family, and we have a lot of things, but a lot of times nobody's coming to save you.
Yeah.
And when it comes to new year, new me, I think a lot of times people don't push forward to that new you, because when it gets difficult, they quit. Or when it gets difficult,
Yeah.
they expect somebody else to come in. And there's a woman named Princella Clark, and she does a lot of videos about men and women dynamics and stuff like that. And she was basically saying in some of her videos that most men don't know how to lead. So stop expecting them to just jump in and be able to be the provider and protector, because most of
Right.
them haven't been trained. They don't
Right.
have the maturity. And so one of the women was saying, well, what are we supposed to do? I'm a woman and I don't want to take care of myself. I
Oh.
don't want to do it.
Oh.
And she said, first off, you're an adult. And secondly, she says, you're not going to like this, but you're exactly the kind of woman that a pimp is looking for,
Yep.
because he will come in and he will say to you, baby, I'll make every
I
decision.
got it.
Yep.
I got it.
Yep.
I got it. I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna put clothes on your back. I'm gonna put food in your mouth. I'm gonna tell you where to go. I'm gonna tell you what to do. I'm gonna tell you
Yep.
when to come back,
You just
and
gotta
I'm gonna
show
take
up.
care of everything. And
Yep.
he's going to make you feel like you're being
Mm-hmm.
taken care of when you're really being taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And she said, there's a word for people who always want to be saved, and most times it's victim.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that was a very powerful message. So she was like, you need to stop wanting somebody to save you all the time and not wanting to make any decisions for yourself, because that's part of being an adult.
Yeah,
that's right.
the culture has created a damsel in distress mentality for quite some time, and while some women are still reverting to that and they're using it for the like the lady said, she doesn't want to be taken care of. She doesn't want to take care of herself anymore. That's the whole creating the damsel in distress. Doesn't matter. You can do it for yourself, but I don't want to.
But that's the thing. If you're not willing to take care of yourself, why should somebody else be? Like, if you can't, one, if you're not willing to take care of yourself, how can you help somebody else to take care of you? You don't know what it is you need. You don't know what it is you want. There's no sense of self awareness because you've just, no, this is not for me. Somebody else will do it. Like, no sense of self awareness whatsoever. And then this person does come in. Let's say somebody does come in willing to take care of you, and it's difficult for them because you don't know what it is that's necessary to take care of you. And I think that goes back to our goal setting, right? If there is no
Right.
self awareness, if you are not a whole person, understanding yourself as a whole person, how can you expect to grow or make any changes? You don't even know
Exactly.
what's going on in there. And then we have, like you said, this all or nothing mentality. Like, it's just, it's unrealistic.
I'm very guilty of the all or nothing mentality. And even when
Yeah.
it's nothing, I'm still going at it again. You know? Going for broke, going for broke. Not too much broke, just a little bit, just a little bit, you know? Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, with that being said, we're hitting about that time frame for us to actually pretty much get to getting. Oh,
Oh,
we
wait,
got
we
one
got
more.
one more. I was just about to say that. We got one more comment. Amen to that. Our kids aren't as resilient today. But then again, it is not the world we grew up in. The world is so expensive. Yep, very hard for our
Nope.
young people. Although they are so indecisive, my son is a great young man, but not a hard worker like we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll
that
be
is-
that'll be the topic for another show. How do we fix it, right? How do we how do we protect our kids and give them the things we didn't have, but still prepare them and
Right.
have them find their grit? Like, how do you teach grit?
Right.
I don't know how to teach grit. That's a whole question for another show. I look
That
at my
is a
son
whole
and
question for
wow.
another show because that's a good question because it's like you think about. I'm thinking more of like an athletic, like you want the desire to be a part of a team, so you're gonna do
Yeah.
what you got to do. But it's like if you don't want that desire, how do you teach that to somebody who doesn't have it, who should need it? Yeah, it's a
Well,
whole good
Exactly.
Good
thing.
question.
the experts say that you give them chores that they're responsible for, and then you grade them basically on how well they do it, and basically they have consequences for not doing things well. That's one way to teach it, but also just stop doing things for them that they can do for themselves. Like some
Mm-hmm.
parents will make the kids lunch, they'll pick out their clothes. If your kid is 10 years old, he can make his own lunch.
Right.
Yeah.
He can pick out his own clothes, but by you doing it for him, he's being trained in a sense to be, it's learned helplessness. And the
Yeah,
older that they get, basically, the more they should be doing for themselves. So that when they get to 18, 19, 20, whenever they leave your house, they can do everything for themselves. They can cook for themselves. They can clean for themselves. They know how to balance a checkbook. They know all these different things.
Right.
maybe
So,
not balance a check, but maybe like an internet account.
but yeah, you
Well,
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
yeah.
I'm
Accurate.
dating myself there, but I get it.
You're telling your age a little bit. Checkbook. Oh my god!
But don't
Did you
sleep
just
on
come
that.
at me?
But don't sleep on that. Zen is so right because we were just talking about opening the bank of mom and dad in our house. And I
Mm-hmm.
saw it on TikTok. I can't take credit. There's a black creator that I follow that I adore. And she was showing a TikTok on how she has the bank of mom and dad, right? And she has a little whiteboard up and they have envelopes taped to it. And every week when they do their chores, they get paid. You don't do your chores
Mm-hmm.
right, you don't get paid. And it's
Mm-hmm.
in-house money, right? But that money earns you extra snacks or treats, or you can turn in X amount of dollars in order to get real money to go buy something. But you have to earn
Right.
those things and you have to do those things. And she teaches them how to balance a checkbook because
Mm-hmm.
that gives them the financial foundation later.
To do
Because
everything
as
else.
I think she said
Mm-hmm.
when they hit 12, she charges them rent and electricity and Wi-Fi. It's still with the plain money, but that limits their what you want extra Wi-Fi time, you have to pay for it. You want, you
Right.
pay rent for your room. So she teaches them those foundations so that as they're older, that stuff is easier to them, right? Because they understand the foundations, they understand why you're balanced and what overdrawn means and what a rent or mortgage payment is, or and all of those
Right.
things. So I thought that was brilliant. I definitely plan on instilling that in my house.
Well, and that really comes down to your home should be like a training ground, preparing your children for the real world. Whereas a lot of times we don't do that. We wait until they turn 18 and they're like, go off on your own and figure out life. Like, how? I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to clean. I don't know how to manage my money. Well, how am I supposed to go out
And
and
they
figure
don't
out
teach you that in
life?
school.
No,
Conveniently,
they
out of
don't.
all the topics, nobody taught us about taxes or mortgages or rent payments or light bills or balancing that checkbook,
Nope.
doing a budget.
Yeah.
Nobody taught us those
Nah,
things.
you learned about Uncle Sam's percentages when you got your first paycheck and you was heartbroken. Like, wait a minute, I worked all this hours.
Right.
Who is this person? Take it. Where does
No.
this money go into? Yo, I'm 40 years old. I still look at that chick and I feel the same way.
Wah, wah, wah.
Why do you need a person? And then it's like, okay, cool. I got money in my 401k. Cool, that's fine. If I take out of it, you still gonna tax me? Wait a minute. Wait, stop, time out. Wait, you just taxed me. You go. All right, cool. I don't want to be an adult.
But those are the things
Let
that
them
we
learn that
need
the
to
hard way, bro.
prepare.
Oh my
Yes.
God, let them learn it the hard
No,
way. The
they
second
don't
you
need to
realize,
know the hard way. Why? So they could be traumatized
No.
like us? No, let's
no,
prepare
that's what
them.
that's what the parents told us when they was like, get out there, figure it out, and then you get that check. You're like, oh my God, they still do it. Why?
Just because Mikey said this, I want to just touch on this. Do you know what's so funny is I read an entire article about a study that was done of families that had generational, well, oh my God, I can't speak, generational wealth versus the typical middle class to lower middle class families, right? Generationally. And one of the things they found several things, but one of the things they found is that families that had generational wealth were able to keep that generational because they didn't force their kids into adulthood before they were ready. They taught them financial foundations, and when they moved out into their own purchased home because they stayed home longer, and they saved money for college and made sure that their kids went to college, but they didn't leave that debt on their kids. They had either programs in place or trusts in place where they because you can hide money in a trust without paying tax, and then use that to pay for education. They did things that took those types of responsibilities off of their kids, but still taught them about it. You know what I mean by that? But like they still taught them all the things, but they set them up to succeed. Whereas in traditionally, poorer households, middle class, lower middle class, we tend to kick our kids out.
Just kick
18,
them
get
right
out.
out.
Go get a job. You have to help me pay bills. You have to do that. We're setting ourselves up to repeat a cycle that we don't even like and don't want to be a part of. We're perpetuating it.
A lot of that's got to do, like you said, when we talk about the ones that's making more money is the ones that understood it, and that's that generational wealth, and they're part of that same circle that already knows it because it's written by them, made for them. So while we are getting the basic bare minimum of that information, because like you said, it's well taught within them, but it's not something they want to teach you outside in school. It's not something that they want to teach you when you come into quote unquote be an American citizen. They're not going to teach you how to succeed.
Right.
They want you, again, looking for a nation of workers, not thinkers. So when you get them into that concept, of course, that's the one thing they want to teach in a public school setting. Of course, that's another thing they want to make sure that the day-to-day average worker is constantly doing. So you're creating a new generation of, well, you got to work in order to get money, and you got to do things in order to get money. And so it's like, we're, like you said, we're talking about adding responsibility. We were talking about preparing them for the future. But then at the same point in time, if we ourselves are not writing the rules for them to succeed in and playing a part into that, that's where quote unquote voting does somewhat sort of matter. We're just pretty much we're still preparing them for the worst to come. Because they still won't, a second they change a new bill on a law, way things should be done, and we're not privy to that information. Because not everybody's sitting here watching C-SPAN, let's be honest. Okay? None of us have. I probably did it like 2 minutes out of my entire life. I couldn't do it. So, but it's not like we're being caught up on that. So, and it's not like we're putting in the effort to do that because they also created we're also in another environment where it's like, I gotta work until I'm dead to make this happen. I gotta work until and then when you got kids, they all want the new thing, and you want to give them that same thing you didn't have. So then that's another mental pressure on yourself. And then you just keep adding a little more.
So with that being said, our time has beyond come. Circling back around to navigating the new year, new me phenomenon. Do we have any last minute thoughts or feelings or things that we want to share before we wrap this beautiful thing up?
I would say to everybody, let's all just have a revolution and tell them to stop taxing us on everything. Because if you tax
totally not on topic.
No, I'm just saying because I feel like we're paying we're paying for stuff and we're not getting what we're supposed to be getting back. Okay, but that's my rant. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I would say that, you can reinvent yourself at any time, and it should be a fluid process, not a stress-filled process, because you should be pursuing your changes with balance and with self-care, involved and embedded in your change process so that you're not stressing yourself out. I mean, if you look at nature, change is gradual. It's not overnight.
Yeah.
And so we don't have to try to earthquake change. We can grow like a plant, We don't have
to
to
grass.
Yeah. We don't have to
That's
over,
fantastic.
stress ourselves as we grow and change.
Thank you.
I'm with Zen. I very much think that it shouldn't be new year, new me. It should be me ever growing and ever evolving. Like you should be focused on growing slowly and steadily and leveling up when necessary. It's you are who you are and you're beautiful as you are. It's not about a new you. It's about growing into the best version of you.
Right. I completely agree with that. And I think in all of that, the biggest thing is having self compassion. Even when the time comes that you don't meet those marks, it doesn't mean just throw the whole thing away and just stew in it. Sit down, reevaluate your life, reevaluate your goals. Maybe the goals that you set weren't meant for you. Maybe you
Yeah.
need to shift focus to something else. Maybe weren't meant for you in this moment. Um, I think we just really need to, like we talked about in a previous episode, learning to sit with ourselves and really figuring out, are these goals and expectations that I have for me in this season, or are they a result of social pressure? So,
Yeah.
with that being said, thank you for joining us, Zen. Really enjoyed you. Welcoming
Absolutely.
again Miss Reese to the podcast. Super excited
Thank
to have us
you.
with her, have her with us, English. And that brings us to the end of today's epic episode. So remember, as always, our goal is not to dictate conclusions, but to encourage self reflection and open, honest dialogue to help us better understand the world around us, but more importantly, ourselves. So if you have any
Yep.
questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. Lean in with us.
Very
And
much so. We would definitely love to hear your comments and all that jazz. Yeah.
Wouldn't be a show without the English accent.
Yeah. Probably. I'm just letting you know. It wasn't really. Yeah.
I
Thank
did want to
you.
say thank you guys for having me on. If anybody
Thank
is
you.
looking for any new year, new me material, I
Yes.
do have a planner on Amazon called the Ultimate Me Planner, and I have a
In the
guided journal
comments.
called Energize Your Life.
Yes.
Yeah, and I
Please place
also
it in
have
the
a
comments.
memoir that's a self-help kind of. It's a my personal healing journey encapsulated in the memoir. He actually read or listened to the first chapter of my memoir.
Yes.
Yes, I
So
did.
Oh, see, now I got to read it too.
Oh
Oh,
gosh.
but hey, you should. You
Oh
should.
my goodness. If you could leave us that information so we can drop it in the comments for everybody to access.
sure.
And
Yes, please do. Please do.
thank you again for joining us, everyone, today. Thank you for leaning in with us. And until next time, we will see y'all around.
Yes.